All right, if you've ever wondered how to rebuild a wet sleeved engine, this is the episode for you. This is an entire how to rebuild a DT466. Man, it is so pretty. Here we go. The story is he bought it from a farm auction just down the road.
Lightly seized.
Now, imagine I take this beautiful roll off. All you do is take your fingers, take it, and plunk it on the back of that Fargo. We're gonna cut this log as quickly as we can and put that on the Fargo bed before we turn into winter. We'll be rebuilding the DT408 and the 466 together. That way we can hop it up with the P7100 pump.
We've got our FASS, we've got our injection pump, we've got our compressor, power steering pump. We are finally able to build our perfect compound turbo DT466 NGD in our 1965 LCF Fargo roll-off. Here we go.
All right, I'm ready to put the crank back in again. And this is, I love this part. Taking something old and sitting and just completely neglected, not only the Fargo cab, but the frame from the DT466 or the 4900, the roll-off that was in a scrapyard, and now this block. There's something about just taking something old and just giving it special care and making it very new, practical, and awesome. 10 times better than it was before. The crankshaft is in fantastic shape. The journals, which are all standard, but also the seal at the back, a little bit behind schedule, but we're finally getting there. I use Ultra Slick on the main bearings, rod bearings, and also on the camshaft lobes. And then everything else we use T4 for the rings and that. So we'll put a little bit of goop on there.
First torque is 60, second torque is 85, last torque is 115. Start from the middle, work your way out, and the first cap you tighten down, give your crank a little spin. You should still be able to spin it very easily with your fingers. Now all of them have lubrication on them except for one cap, which I left dry. I'm gonna run over to Kevin's, grab some of his plastic gauge from when we rebuilt the skid steer, and just check one main cap. Oh yeah. Can't spin it all the way around yet because I don't want that lube on that top cap. Okay, so we're gonna plastic gauge, and what that is a tiny little piece of plastic that you squish in between the bearing race, and then it fills out to these different widths, and that will tell you how much clearance you have between your crank, journal, and your bearing. And I don't know why they come in these long packages, because this is like $1.22, so you don't respect it enough to keep it around. Or remember where you put it, because we just did this with Kevin's engine and I had to go to town and buy more of this because we couldn't find his plastic gauge either. Really should just come in like one-time use things and like a vending machine type thing. I don't know, because this is enough to last like me for about 23 years. But anyway, we got a little piece of plastic laying on there, so we'll clamp the cap back down again. It's a little crooked. Not that it matters at all. Now it's perfectly straight. Now we'll put the cap on it, torque it back down, take it off, and we'll measure the width, and then we're gonna send it. I do this even though I've never ever had the clearances be off. It's all standard, it's all stock, it's all done by fancy machines and really smart people that even if this was off, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, I guess you would have to grind the crank and put undersized bearings in it, but I've never had an issue. There it is. Now you just hold your paper up to it. We've got 3 thou, which is kind of right in the middle there. There we go. And we're allowed between 1 and 5. So I would say that can't be any more perfect than that. Right smack in the middle. I'm not the smartest, I'm not the dumbest, I'm just kind of right there in the middle. Just the lukewarm floating in the middle of the batch there. So we can torque that down for good. We'll take this. I don't like leaving it on there. Some people leave it on there. I don't like doing that. I'm gonna peel it off, and then I'm going to put a little bit of assembly lube on there. Look at that, all nice and clean. Man, I'm excited. And we'll flip this thing over and we'll pop some liners in. But before we flip it over, we need end play. So that is the ability of the crankshaft to move forward and back. And we want that between 6 and 12 thou. So we zeroed out our indicator here. And we have 8 thou. And you know it's an accurate indicator because it's really old. 8. 0, 8. Now this is super important, especially if you have a manual transmission. Keep in mind, every time that you push on the clutch and push up against that flywheel, you're moving this crankshaft. So if there's no play or there's excessive play, things are gonna go bad quick. But we're good, so we can flip it over. Okay, so basically, this is your engine in a box. What it is your brand new sleeve. We've got some pistons. We've got some O-rings for the bottom of our sleeve. We've got a new piston pin and then a sleeve with a piston in the bottom of it. And they're already matched, so no need to cross hatch, no need to do any machining. Just clean the parts, make sure there's no machining filings left in there for any reason. We've got new snap rings for your piston, and now we have a liner. Now we don't want to put the rings on there, or sorry, the O-rings on right away. What we want to do is pop these in the block and make sure our protrusion, meaning that what sticks out on the top of this is sticking out just enough on the from the parent bore, and that will mean that our head gasket is going to seal properly. Okay, so once you have the liner dry, just drop in, then just torque it down with 3 bolts, and first the 40 foot-pounds, then 80 foot-pounds, and we want 2 thou of liner protrusion between this outside lip and your block. Now you can do it with a dial indicator or a bore gauge, or depth gauge, sorry. But that is pretty tight because 2 thou is that thick. It's not much. It's only like a slight hair. So I doubt that my dial indicator is accurate within 2 thou doing it that way. So what you can do is a razor blade is pretty tight, and then just on your block you want to make sure that when you lay it flat that it's sticking out just a little bit. And then double check with your dial indicator, but do that across all the blocks. I like to keep the pistons with the right liners so that they're matched, just because, but we'll throw them in, we'll check each one. If it's too low, then you can shim the bottom of it or take a little bit off the deck right here. So surface the deck, but you can buy shims to go underneath here. If it's too high, you can actually machine the top of your liners. But if it's too high, it's probably because you got dirt in here. Do a better job cleaning it. So these wheel nuts for transports make great hold down clamps because they spin. They got this little thing that spins, so you don't risk tightening down on the liner, and it's big enough that you can kind of rotate it. And it actually works in between here too. Now, when you are popping your pistons in and rotating it, you want to keep at least one of these on there because you don't want your liner popping up. That is possible because everything's new and tight. So we want to keep these on there until the head is on there, just so that when we rotate it, everything stays the way you want it to. You kind of get one shot with these O-rings. Okay, so we checked every single one of them. Everyone's good. So now we can pull them out, pop the O-rings on there. A little bit of lubrication around the O-rings, and then pop them back down again, and then just hold them in place while we put our pistons in.
All right, so in my career as a mechanic over the last 25 years, I've rebuilt somewhere between 30 and 50 engines, each one of them getting Shell Rotella oil. I've never had an issue, and I'll continue to use it, including this engine. We're gonna use T4 to break it in, get those rings seated, and then because we're using compounds and turning this up a little bit, once we have 500 miles under our belt and those rings have seated, we're gonna switch to T6 to give us that optimum lubrication for all of the moving components in this, and making it last as long as we possibly can.
We got Baxter here, who did a great job painting a whole bunch of parts. I spent the better part of yesterday cleaning and painting parts as well. So now we put the head on just for some pictures, but we're gonna do final assembly actually now. So we're gonna start with the oil cooler. It's pretty intricate. We've got our cooler here, the tubes that go through, so it uses engine oil going through this cooler with engine coolant going through it to moderate the temperatures. We've got a pretty intricate gasket here that lays on here. So this goes into that on one end, goes onto that on the other end. We've got a tube here and this little tube here. We cleaned everything, painted everything, polished everything, and blew everything clean, and put a little bit of Vaseline on the O-rings to hold them in place and for it to slide into place. And now we're ready to bolt that down. Okay, so we got the O-rings in there, and I am not strong enough to force them through, so we're just gonna carefully see if we can press this cooler together. So we've got both halves to squeeze onto that cooler. It should slide. Let's make sure it's going down nice and straight. There it goes. You just see it like slide in and just pop in place. There's no pressure on it right now. And there it bottoms out. I think that's it. So we've got this tab sitting down low here, and then this tab sitting up top here, and our O-ring still in the right spot. Okay, so the seal is pretty tricky because they want you to use this fancy tool that removes and installs the rear main seal. I don't have that. So the seal comes with the wear sleeve in it. You can see that shiny ring there, and they don't want you to separate that because, as you can see, the seal comes apart here. So when you push the case on there, even though this has a taper on it, when you slide the seal on it, it's hard to keep the seal from getting damaged. So you got to put this on while the whole thing is together. So we got a gasket at the back, and then we've got this seal that needs to be pressed into here. Now we can use the flywheel. The flywheel goes flush up against it, and we'll push it in nice and evenly. And then this seal here, we just got to put that in there. Now it's hard because the only lip you have is this tiny little piece right here.
But what we're gonna do is push it in from the back, because then we have a nice flat surface that we can push on. You don't have to put anything on it. This red coating is the sealant on here. Just make sure your groove is nice and clean. So we'll press that on, or tap that on. That's not a big deal. And then we use a flywheel to push it up against the flywheel at the back here. Okay, so I might regret this, but the flywheel is getting machined, and I really want to get the seal on there. So this rubber O-ring is good to about 250 degrees, somewhere around there, a little bit above boiling point. So what we're gonna do is just bake it for 200 in my toaster oven, and just expand that seal there. About 150. We're gonna let that bake for just a little bit. And then we're gonna pop that on. That should push that a little bit nicer around that seal. And then, yeah, we should be good. Okay, so while I'm waiting for my rear main seal to bake, I'm going to install the front cover, and really this O-ring is just one piece. The bolts, I think there's 9 or 12 or something that hold this on. They're 19 foot-pounds. The O-rings have these little waves in there. You can put a little bit of grease in there just to hold it tight. So I'm gonna do that, make sure it doesn't pop out, especially in just like corners like this, and here, and here, and here. And then that'll keep it in place. The grease doesn't hurt anything. Yeah, one more thing. Once this is in, I can put my camshaft back in again, but I just wanna seal this thing up. Here we go. So I'm just putting a little bit of silicone on the black side, only because the housing is a little bit pitted. So the silicone will take up those little imperfections, and then the gasket will be fine. We only need to put a little bit of silicone or gasket maker on one side. Okay, let's see how this goes. It's at about 175. Oh, not too bad, actually. Wonderful. That went really nice. There's just no ring that goes in here, and that seals it up against that back. This was the clutch laying out back. Got a little bit of rust on it. I just hit it with a wire wheel. Doesn't really matter though. It's not worn. This was not the clutch that came off of this engine. This clutch came off of the plow truck that we pulled the transmission from. Brand new. So the clutch still has lots of lining on it, and it's a nice dual clutch. So we're gonna skimp out on one thing, and that's going to be the clutch. I think it's good enough for what we need. So we're gonna throw this on the back of the engine. But the easiest way to bolt this on actually is to stick the entire clutch assembly on your transmission, push the transmission up to the engine, and then slowly, as you're tightening the transmission up, tighten the bolts to the flywheel. Then you don't have to line up the splines. You can get pilot shafts to line up your shafts. I don't have that, so we'll do that. But the transmission, we did find somebody in Indianapolis who are able to swap the 2 gears in our 10-speed Road Ranger and give us a double overdrive on that. I'm super excited about that because we'll have the low end torque that we need on that truck, and then we'll still have our highway cruising speeds. But you gotta wait for that video. We're just lining something up with Cummins. That takes care of the back half, and now a little bit more to do on the front, and we've got a complete engine. All right, we got our flywheel back from being machined, and they took 25 thou off, and I can stick it on the lathe and run my bit across, but I never find that it gets as nice of a finish as whatever they use, probably a big
flat disc, same as what you would resurface a cylinder head with. This is a perfect surface now for our clutch to go on. Now, if there is a ledge where your clutch mounts to, some of us flywheels have a step, you have to machine the same amount off of your step as you do off your face, because your fingers are kind of leveraged off of this, and you change the angle of that finger if you only machine this surface and not your ledge. Even though the ledge never has a wear on it, whatever you take off the face has to go off the ledge. Now, your pilot bearing is super cheap, so replace that all the time. If it's grinding kind of in every gear except for your direct drive, it's probably your pilot bearing. And what happens in direct drive is your engine is turning the same speed as your transmission, so this bearing doesn't rotate. If you're having trouble getting into gear, it's probably because this bearing is getting tight, and if it's getting tight, it sucks having to pull your transmission for a $5–10 bearing. Now we pulled this gasket off, and you can see there's not much grease left in here. So we went and grabbed one in town. This is KML. It's your lower budget bearing, but I find the only difference between a budget bearing and a good bearing is the amount of grease that they put in. So if you pull the seal off and stuff it full of grease, I find they last just as long as a good bearing. So that's not even that bad. There's quite a bit in there, but we're gonna try and stuff even more in there. Even still, on a good bearing, I open it up and cram as much grease in there as I can. So you can take a grease needle and shove it in there, put that on the back side then, because it gets less exposed to the elements. So that was probably about 6 or 7 pumps, and this is what's left on my fingers. But if we can fit this on there again, that's definitely not 6 or 7 pumps on my fingers. And you can see how much grease you can put in there. That probably adds another couple billion spins on that bearing. Second thing is making sure that this fits on your input shaft, that you did get the right bearing, and if you need a nice bearing install tool, just use the old bearing. So nice. All right, throw this on the back. A little bit of Loctite and some Ugga Duggas. Okay, so we got the cam nice and clean. It's the stock cam going in again. We reached out to a company who said they could do it, which is machine the cam to, so they take material off of the heel, which would give you more lift in the end because your lifter sits that much lower. They said they could do it, but I guess they didn't want to because they never returned our email. So we're putting our stock cam back in again. So we got it nice and clean. We got our bolts to hold it in place, and we're just gonna put assembly lube on it as we put it in, and it'll be good to go. Okay, so this last journal is always kind of a pain, so I found a socket that fits nicely in the hole, and that'll let me pick up on the camshaft by using a little bit of leverage. The Cummins work nice with the 2 adjustables. You can do it that way too. Just trying to line up that last bearing, and there she is. Wonderful. And I'm gonna line up the bolts. Now your camshaft, you want to be able to spin that no problem, and it's even a good idea to put it in dry without lube. That's what Scott always does, and make sure you can spin this camshaft with one finger, because it's impossible to check the clearances on the cam bearings. But we didn't touch these ones, and it's the same cam coming out, so we should be fine. The holes line up. We'll torque those to 18 foot-pounds, 19 and a half, 18 or 19. All right, so we got a cam in. We're gonna pull our head off. We're gonna put our lifters in, and then we'll start timing the front cover. But everything in order. Here we go. We got our lower idler gear on it.
And we've got our marks here, and then our second one to our other idler, which goes to here. This bolt is 470 foot-pounds. Let's see if we can get there. So I got Loctite on it. They really don't want this one to come loose. I feel like I'm gonna tip over my engine. I feel like I'm gonna snap this bolt. Oh. There we go. All right, now we're gonna check the backlash. I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay, so the backlash, basically the manual just says 14 is too much, and I've got about 5. So we just want your teeth on it on an angle. I like a 90 degree to the teeth as best as you can. And then just move that, and you just want to hear that little click. That just means that this is not binding on that, and we're good to go. So throw the other idler on. Now we've got these 2 teeth lined up, one high tooth into the hollow. Now we've got 2 teeth here. That lines up with the idler, and then we can put our cam on, and then we're done with the front timing cover. All right, so we got your Baxter lining up the other 2 marks. What do you think? You got it?
Yeah, both the X's line up. Double X, single X, and single X.
Right on. This is clean.
Yep.
We can pull it back off again. We got to put some oil in the bearing.
Yep.
And we got to put some Loctite on that bolt.
Oh yeah.
$265 on this upper retaining. Apparently, Baxter wants me to get my exercise with my right hand. Not bottom, but pull tip. Got some Loctite on it. Come on. That one felt a little tight for that bolt. We got her. Perfect. A little bit of play. I'll check the backlash on that, same idea. Backlash on that is, did you change the page again? Why did you change the page? Did you save it?
He's looking for the foot-pounds.
Idler to camshaft, 18 thou. So that's the maximum. We've got 7, so we're good. So now we gotta check the gear between camshaft and idler, which is 18 as well as the max. And I know we're not, so we're good. We'll do the injection pump. I gotta look up on that because I don't have my flag. Normal P7100 has the flag that you stick out to time the pump to top dead center. I think we gotta just do it through the gears. Whether that has that pin, you line it up with that one, I imagine so. But we'll be right back with that one. Okay, so for the injection pump, this little hole, it's the ones between the 4 holes, lines up with the bracket behind there. There's a little detent in there, and you line that up. So the gear doesn't really matter, and they're slotted, so you can see that there was slotted in the middle, and that's kind of nice because you can actually pull the gear. You don't have to pull the gear right off, but you can remove the holes or remove the bolts and advance or delay your timing a bit. And we're gonna play with that afterwards. So that's nice and easy. So here we go. Okay, so our engine's at top dead center. We've got our pump lined up with the pin. So the pump is ready to fire, and our number 1 piston is at top dead center compression. Now these holes are slotted, and that allows you to delay or retard or advance your timing for your pump. What we're gonna do, because we're gonna add a pile of fuel to this thing, we're going to advance the timing a little bit by retarding the pistons. So what we're gonna do is go against the normal rotation of my crankshaft, just a little bit, and then we're gonna put our gear on for our pump. That allows us to bring the pump back to stock timing if we retard it to the end of the slots, but it allows us to advance it a little bit more than stock would because it's already slightly advanced with this. There's no need to retard the timing on this. I'm not sure when we're getting the turbos or how we're gonna plumb that or when we're gonna fire that up,
I think we'll do it while it's still off. The problem is we need to make this engine work as hard as we possibly can to seat these rings, but we can't do that because the truck isn't licensed or ready for the road yet. Like all the brakes and that aren't finished yet. So I'd like to put this on a dyno and work it and play with the timing before we put it inside the truck. These bolts get torqued to 38 foot-pounds, and that's it for the timing cover. So we can put the timing cover together, and then we can start setting our valves. So here we go. We've got our front cover together, all our timing's done, so we can put the head on now, now that we spun it over. So we're gonna drop the lifters down into the bore, and these are roller lifters, so they are directional. And it's just these little clips that hold it together. And there's been a bunch of comments saying, are you gonna double up the holders? Because if these fail, what happens is this thing turns sideways and then it wipes the cam out instantly. So we had 2 engines, so we might as well double up these lifters. I like putting them back in the same bore that they came out of, even though there's barely any marks on these. So it's probably not a huge deal to mix up the bores, but I like putting them all back in the same spot. So we just let them soak in some T4. We'll drop them in one at a time, and then we're ready for our cylinder head. Here we go. Okay, so we're ready to put the head back on again. So one last blowout from all of the bolt holes, because if you inadvertently drop some liquid, whether it's cleaner or whatever, down the bolt hole, and you torque your head bolt down, you'll hydraulically lock it and you could crack the block. Blow, and then we'll clean the surface, and then it's just a matter of head gasket and dropping our head back on. And final assembly. Now it's getting exciting. This is the prettiest engine I've ever built. I'm pretty proud of this one. Alright, so in case you're wondering, the engine is gloss dark blue, this trim clad, and then all the other parts are just gloss black. And then for this manifold, we've got Rust-Oleum high heat. We're just gonna, it doesn't really last, but it does make it look pretty for camera in that first couple fire ups before we give her the beans. Perfect. All right, so we got Baxter doing his first. I'm gonna get you to stand on this side of the engine.
Yep.
Only because the intakes are there and I don't want you leaning over top of them.
Yeah.
So, there you go. You got this one?
Yeah, I just did that.
We got 110 on the first torque. So try to do like a little bit and then like a long sweep so you get that click in the middle of your sweep.
Yep.
Right? Perfect. Nope. That one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tricky, eh?
Yeah.
So that was 110. We're gonna go to 150.
155.
155. And then, I've never seen this before. Generally, you start in the middle and work your way out. And that's because you kind of want to, just like rolling carpet in a room. If you start on one end and work to the other, you got like all sorts of wrinkles. If you start in the middle and work your way out, so much smoother. So, same idea with the cylinder head. I like going over them again once we do the circle, going from left to right, making sure we didn't miss any. This is an odd torque. They want us to go from 110 to 155 in the circle pattern, working our way out, and then 165 and going from left to right all the way across. So now we're going like from this way to that way. I do that anyway. I've just never seen a book call that before. So you got 155, let me see. Oh, good man. All right.
So which way are we going? The same way?
Same circle, same pattern that you just did.
Yeah.
And then we'll add the 10-foot pins.
Okay.
And the entire audience is watching you on a time lapse, and they will tell you
Baxter, you skipped one, forgot one.
Where?
No, I'm just saying, you better watch the video and read the comments. Do you feel nervous at all having 100,000 people watch you and judge you doing this?
Yeah, a little bit.
And he's working up a sweat. At least you don't have to go to the gym tonight, eh, Baxter? Think of all the money I'm saving you.
Yeah.
Press the ladies by telling them I torqued this entire cylinder head. All right, 165, and now we're going all the way across this way and then working our way that way. What's that, Baxter?
You have to show me what I'm doing here.
I showed you last night in a video on how to set the valves. What do you mean I need you to show you?
I need you to I need to double check I'm doing it right.
I can do that.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is setting the valves. We have a complete video on how to set valves. 153624. We even have a t-shirt that has the numbers on it, and they're upside down, so you can look down. When 1 is rocking, you set 6. When 5 is rocking, you set 2. Very, very straightforward. I don't like doing the 2 positions ones where you do like this one and that one and that one and that one, but not this one and that one. I like going right across, just spinning the engine over twice and just doing it one at a time. Basically, we are on number 1 compression, meaning that there's some space in these rockers here and they need to be set to 25 thou. And while I get the young guy going and check his work, if you guys need to see how to set the valves, check out that video. Very straightforward. Buy the t-shirt, it helps out even more. And then we're gonna keep assembling this beautiful, beautiful engine. Here we go. Okay, so just going over the timing cover again, and you can see the difference between the gasket that was in the oil and the gasket, like once I'm done cleaning. This is much rougher where the coolant is. So this is your reminder to change your coolant. Go grab some Peak from your local parts store and change your coolant, because it does break down over time and it does start to eat at stuff. This timing cover was 2,500 bucks. So we're gonna put the gasket in it, a couple O-rings, and I think we are in good shape. All right, so the timing cover's prepped. Do not forget your oil pressure relief, otherwise you will have 0 oil pressure. So new O-ring in there, and then everything else is good to go. Nice and smooth, nice and clean. Don't forget 1, 2, 3 O-rings, and then we'll put a little bit of grease in the valleys just to hold the gasket in place so this doesn't happen. I definitely had this one and this one. I did not have this gasket, so I had to cut it out of another gasket because I had plenty. I had 2 of everything. One was in a kit and then one Scott bought extra. So I have another one of these, I have another one of these. I do not have this piece, which is odd, but anyway, it works because it's just a rubber O-ring. So we'll put some grease in there, we'll hold it in place, and then we can put it in place. There's a couple dowels that hold it in place there, and makes it nice and easy. So these water pump bolts go to 66 inch-pounds, and then everything else on the front cover is basically 19 foot-pounds. It's funny that I get to use there's not too many engines where I use all of my torque wrenches, from my inch-pound all the way up to my big cat 3/4 inch. Okay, oil pump is pretty straightforward. Clean everything up. I marked it so that we know what's up. You don't want to flip those around. They've got a wear pattern specific to the plate as well. Make sure that there's no grooves or anything on that. Put a straight edge across. Make sure that you don't have any wear underneath. This one's all in good shape. So we're gonna clean it, replace the front main seal, clean this housing up a bit, and call her good. Here we go. For the seal, you can actually take like a screw, I love these roofing screws with a little rubber on them. They got a lot of bite. Basically just stick it through there and it'll bottom out underneath and it'll just pull that, push that seal off. Usually it only takes one screw, but I'm committed now. We've gone too far. There we go. You can see there's a nice lip underneath there, so nothing gets damaged. Now we just got to clean it really good, put her back together. There's also to prove that you can do it while it's in the vehicle without taking this whole housing apart. Baxter, while I'm waiting for my oil seal to dry, Baxter, I'll throw this, even though he's having trouble walking through a doorway, you turn and then you pull. I do need a door handle. Everything's junk. Anyway, painted the compressor and it looks really good, but it looks so much better when you start peeling all of the tape off and you see all the different colors on it. Once the colors start showing up through, like your pipes are different colors and your hose, they covered up the hose. I mean, it would have been easier to take the hose off, but even this is aluminum, and then the power steering pump on the back is aluminum. Once you add all those colors, just perfect, absolutely perfect. So we'll strip that and we'll put that compressor on, and then we can pop our seal in and just pop that back in again so I didn't get paint on the inside. But and then we'll throw the front cover together. We're almost there. So see how much better it looks just having all of that stripped? Oh, perfect.
Fix your stupid door, Rich. Get your shit together.
Yeah, you gotta tease them a little bit once in a while. Just a little bit of WD-40. Oh yeah, look at that, she's mint. All right, you still got a job tomorrow. So another reason I like these is even the sealing surfaces come with a speedy sleeve. So we've got that baking in the oven, and that should be another 10 minutes or so. We gotta get the sleeve off. So this is basically just surgery. If on the rear main seal, you've got the space to just hit it with a ball peen, and you can just make a little dent in there, and that'll expand it, and it'll slide off. This is a little trickier because this is in the way. So we're just gonna shave a little bit of the steel off, just a little bit, it's like surgery. And then we're just gonna heat that up with a torch because it's under tension. I've had them just snap and come off without going into the surface underneath it. So let's try that. So now there's no damage to anything else. I can pop the new seal on there. Ta-da! Front main seal going down. Nice and easy. So pretty. Okay, I checked it with the temp gun. It's about 220. Let's see if that fits on or not. And of course, the camera turned off when I put it on, but I warmed it up nice and hot, and then I was just able to tap it on with the brass punch, which is laying on my bench, but it's on there. We are good to go. So now we can pop this onto the front oil pump.
All right, now this is the stock fuel filter and primer pump that goes onto our DT466. We're gonna do away with this because we've had really good luck with FASS, and we're gonna put a FASS pump right here on the engine, where when we open the hood, we can just see this beautiful FASS filter here. Now this generally goes below the tank and close to the tank, but our tank is not too far behind us. So the frame actually comes up about to here, still be able to get at it nicely without having to lay down on the ground, and it's able to pull up the fuel. Now the nice thing about the FASS is, one, it's electric, so it's always supplying nice cool fuel to the P-pump, and it also removes the water and the air. So we have this on the F350, we have it on the tow truck, we have it actually on the K100. I've had really good luck with FASS, so we're gonna make this look really nice and pretty up on the block right here. So they always come with blue fuel line, and I'm like, every one of our trucks, like my Silverado has it on there. I'm like, why the blue lines? It's a white truck with a black frame. We finally have a blue engine, we could use the blue line, and they send us black line. I like that nice and clean look, and the blue never really matched any of my other builds. So this is the top half of the alternator, and that went right here. And I managed to put that in the sandblasting cabinet. But the rest of it, too difficult to take apart. I don't want to. So I just taped off the armature there and a little bit on the back. Control how that paint. Now, you can't use painter's tape. You have to use electrical tape because this is an electrical component. And I ran out of painter's tape. But we'll splash some paint on there, and we'll make that black. And then with the bracket nice and shiny, oh, that'll look so nice. Here we go. And there's the brand new alternator. I lost the receipts, but it is brand new. Look at that. A little bit of paint does so much. I sanded the bracket down. Oh, this is cast. This looks all right. It's decently shiny, so we're gonna put that in, put the alternator on, throw the belt on. Front timing cover is done. We come to this point, and now comes the really awesome parts. Now, I know we're not quite finished with the fuel system. Our injectors are getting looked at. There's fuel lines and plumbing to do, but this is the best part of this build. Andy, I need you. I need more hands. We've got our FASS, which the filters are pretty close to the starter, but that's okay. We crack 2 bolts, we tilt this forward, we're able to swap these filters, no problem. We've got our injection pump, we've got our compressor, power steering pump, and all this goodness. But when we walk around to this side of the engine, it's a little bit sad. There's a lot of empty space. I feel like the engine is really heavy on the driver's side and wants to kind of pull you in oncoming traffic. We need to weigh this side down a little bit. And to do that, we reached out to Turbo Parts Canada and said, hey, what do you suggest? Compounds. We told you we were gonna do compounds. We weren't lying. Now imagine still all the pipes are gonna be polished that go to the intercooler. So it's gonna come out of here, go into the intercooler, come back and go into the intake right here. So 2 more shiny pipes here. The frame rail stops right about here, I would say. So we got 1 up, and then this one will probably be down here somewhere. That will take up the space. So next episode, we'll be doing the fuel system, and if we have all the parts for the turbos, we'll be putting the turbos together. We just borrowing these housings to see what it looks like. Now, we need your guys' opinion. So what color? We've got aluminum, anodized blue. The blue is close, but not exact. And then we've got black. My opinion is probably gonna go black because I spent a lot of time painting all the accessories black. The TPC pops really nice with the aluminum, and then that will match the polished intake pipes. But definitely comment down below. Now, this took a lot to get to this point. Somebody told me once, the difference between a good job and a great job is usually about an hour. Take that hour and you have something that you're super proud of when you're finished. And it doesn't always have to cost money. Sometimes it's just sitting down in front of YouTube and polishing some parts with some sandpaper and a wire wheel, whatever it takes, but you gotta get out in there and work on it. So looking forward to this summer. It's gonna be epic, and can't wait to show you guys all the stuff that's coming down the line. But Remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich, get out there and work out. Here we go.